Are you doing okay?
Yeah.
Okay, trustees, we are live. We are recording. Phone lines are open. You are good to go.
Welcome everybody to the regular meeting of the East Hampton Town Trustees for July 11th, 2022. And I'd like to open with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Allison, can you do a roll call, please?
Sure. John Aldred.
Here.
Francis Bach.
Here.
David Cataletto.
Here.
Ben Dollinger.
Here.
Tim Garneau.
Here.
Jim Grimes. Mike Martinson. Susan McGraw-Keever. Here. Bill Taylor.
Here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Begin with public comment. We have guests tonight. Gail Collette from changehampton.org and Stephen Van Dam.
You want to just start while we reconnect? We just lost our connection, so we're going to try reconnecting.
Well, they sort that out before we start the presentation. Just want to thank you for including us, Change Hampton, here tonight. We have a few members of our steering committee physically here, Stephen Van Dam, Irene, and myself. And we have others, Nancy Urban, Gloria Frazee, and I think Paul Munoz zooming in to the meeting. First, we want to acknowledge the extraordinary years of experience and commitment to our environmental health that this group of town trustees represent, and we thank you for your service. We realize that some of you have been working on the issues that we're going to raise today for decades. Our concern is how to get this knowledge and this experience to the public in ways that lead to action. I will explain briefly who we are at Change Hampton and why we came together and about our mission. Then I'll address how our mission crosses over with what we see as yours and make suggestions for collaboration.
Yeah.
Are we ready to?
No, we're not. I'm so sorry. I just got bumped off the,
Oh, is that better, Matt? Is that, I've got a pretty big projecting voice, so I don't know. Is that
Everything is
okay?
good. Thank you.
Okay, I'm listening to you.
Terrific.
You want to watch it? You can.
Well, we were on a network and we lost it, so.
So everything you've said is not been on.
Oh, no, I think that was live. It's just that we were zooming in with a key point presentation, so we just lost the link. I don't know.
Yeah, sorry, we're just losing. That's
Do you have a copy of your physical presentation that
Yes.
you can start with them?
Well, I can. It's just that we're linked together with a visual, but I can go ahead and start, and perhaps Stefan can.
No, I don't think you should. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
This goes together. Matt, why was I bounced off, or can I get back on the Wi-Fi network?
I do not know.
Out
Because it
the
was working
printed
just fine.
version of our presentation.
How did I get bounced?
I don't know. I'm sorry, folks. Yeah, let's try one more time.
I don't want to hold this up, but I could go and start a couple of, could go ahead and we could catch up. Let us know.
Just a sec.
Yeah, it's not working for some reason.
Okay, so that's to a different network.
I don't have the password to any other network.
Does Matt have a password to a different network?
I
No.
do not.
I'm
How
not
about
sure why.
Optimum?
No, we don't have that.
So how about we'll just use a different network here and see how about this guy?
Is there a free one that you can use?
Let's see this.
I'm sorry, everyone. It's not connecting for some reason.
Technology.
No, it was on, it was just
We
fine.
were on and it was up and happening. I don't know what happened.
So through Optimum, it wants a sign and credentials.
Which doesn't make sense.
What if
Yeah,
I
let's
were
see
to
it.
start and you catch up with me?
Hang on just a second.
Are you able to?
I don't want to
start in
waste
then?
time here at the,
So I'm on, I need to join the meeting now.
Yep.
Let's see, where's the meeting?
Should just be able to start it, right? Did you?
There you go.
okay, Matt, we think we've,
Just one second.
Yep, it's just reconnecting.
yep, I think we're connecting and
That's fine. I will look for the sign on.
You don't have to
The
have it
gods
stored in your
of
email and email it to you from your phone, do you?
No, I do, but it's really that I was a different, it's called East Hampton. No password required, but it doesn't show up now.
If you email it to me, I can get it to you and you can do it from this computer.
So Karen drove yet? Yeah, I saw that.
So
Probably should have.
for answers, Q&A and stuff afterwards. When we presented here before, the system worked like a
Seamlessly.
seamlessly, and we,
Gail's talking. Ricky, don't lose that. You can go on your phone. Well, you pick up a phone, you both know, you touch something and it goes away.
you sent me the Zoom link.
somebody's got their mic
I have a-
open
I
on the
have a-
Zoom.
I have a
And
presentation that
Do you have it in your email that you
No.
can send? Okay, then we have it.
it's a keynote off of my
Okay.
machine.
Stefan's talking now.
I need to have a connection in order to zoom in.
Right. No, I understand that. I don't know
No.
why the connection isn't working, so I don't.
So
Francis?
I'm going to just have to go ahead with it, I guess. It's too bad because we have a lot of very powerful visuals to go with this, with this presentation, but I'll just talk it through and maybe Stefan, if you get online with it, you can catch up to me. Shall I start?
Sure.
Okay.
East Hampton, that's-
Okay, we like to say that we are reimagining landscapes and changing minds. We're Change Hampton. Who we are, we're a group of East Hampton residents who take the town's climate emergency resolution as our guiding principle. What concerns us, like so many, we're deeply troubled by global warming and the climate crisis. We're also alarmed at the loss of biodiversity, which not only contributes to the catastrophic collapse of insect and bird species, but causes an increase of toxicity in our local waters. We're leaving our children and our grandchildren a mess. Why we're organizing. Our local focus has been to promote, educate, and advocate for the restoration of disturbed landscapes, especially turf lawns in East Hampton. Our landscaping practices create ecological deserts and toxic runoff.
Hang on just a second. Where are we?
Lawns, no, yes, why we're organizing. Lawns rob vital habitat from the very collapsing around us. Fertilizers and pesticides are poisoning our birds and insects along with our water systems. We need to transform our landscaping ideas and practices to regenerate sustainable habitat for those very species and aquatic life. We are promoting a pollinator pathway movement. We encourage folks to, and you'll see from what we handed out, to invite pollinators and birds, to plant natives, to avoid pesticides, to love leaves, to limit lighting, reduce lawn size, create a meadow, talk with your landscaper, and ban blowers in winter. To help launch a pollinator pathway, and with the support of the Energy and Sustainability Committee, we presented a proposal to the town board for a 3,000 square foot community pollinator garden in front of Town Hall, right outside these windows. We received enthusiastic support from many quarters, including local schools and students eager to participate in their future. We're currently at the licensing stage with the town for this project. And if you can see, here's the plan. We're not going to spend much time there because we're about moving on here. Looking, okay. Looking at the mission and responsibilities of the town trustees, we have common concerns and shared goals that could more effectively be addressed with a partnership. Much of your responsibility revolves around the quality of water in our bays, estuaries, creeks, harbors, and ponds, the basis of the local economy. Change Hampton addresses the lawn care practices contributing toxins and high nitrogen levels that pollute our waterways and aquifers. Here's a brand new turf lawn installed within 50 feet of a wetland. Being watered daily exacerbates a drainage problem, toxic runoff that will end up in the wetlands of 3 Mile Harbor. What we do on land determines the future of our water, its quality, and the health of our community. Our watershed has seen steady and rapid growth of unsustainable development, resulting in rising pollution, contaminated rain runoff, loss of both habitat and ecological resilience. Lawns have root systems that are minuscule. If you could have seen this graphic in a much larger on the screen, you would see that the lawn is on the far left, circled in a purple circle. It has a root system of 1 inch, maybe 2 inches, compared to the native plants all across the right, some which have roots that go down 15 feet. To the extensive depths, they help to clean soils, water, toxins, and retain them. These native plants are crucial to the solution. Given this reality and your educational mission, Change Hampton would like to encourage a new educational campaign about the relationship between native plantings and healthy waterways. Well, some projects exist. We have the bioswale on Methodist Lane. Okay, you're catching up. Good. Created by Surfrider, which relates to underground water health that affects Hook Pond. What is missing from those projects is an ambitious educational campaign about what we can do right now in our own yards. There's an excellent example by the Barnegat Bay Partnership, and I'm going to hand out copies of this, some hard copies to you. It's a project that is in New Jersey, and their slogan is "Bay Protection Begins in the Yard." And I'll hand out the brochure. It's something to consider for East Hampton. And there's a link to their brochure in the text that we gave out, I believe, or on email. Yeah. Okay. So to begin this conversation, here's our ask. One, to promote an educational campaign about the relationship between our turf lawn practices and water quality in our waterways. 2, to prioritize the planting of native plants near creeks and waterways at the end of all roadways leading to bays and ponds, and in portions of every lawn whether on town or individual property. 3, to make the restoration of town lawns into native and pollinating gardens part of an educational campaign about the toxicity of our water runoff that empties into the waters that surround us. We're aware that Steve Ballone's Suffolk County website has information about the crucial role native plants and rain gardens play in avoiding toxic runoff. But we are in an environmental emergency. We need a local East Hampton, trustee-branded, coordinated effort to reach schools, houses of worship, landscapers, realtors, and residents, using local media and every vehicle we can muster to make the town's climate emergency resolution manifest. Change Hampton continues to identify potential partnerships to transform turf lawns into pollinator and rain gardens, meadows, or bioswales. These restored landscapes offer inspiration and educational opportunities. One such opportunity sits right in front of your offices on Bluff Road. Thank you. Sorry that we had these technical difficulties of connecting. But thank you for giving Change Hampton the chance to present these concerns and ideas to you. And we have members here who can answer questions. And I wanted to hand out, we have a few copies of the Barnegat Bay, New Jersey project partnership that I think maybe somebody else can run off some more copies for you to share. Examples of something that East Hampton might consider doing. Yes.
I mean, we have an even closer example than the mining come up.
Yes. Yeah.
My name is Leonard Green, and I'm a member of this group. And I just wanted to say there's an even closer example than the Barnegat Bay Partnership. There's a Peconic Bay Partnership. And they also, on their list of recommendations for how to mitigate the stormwater runoff problems that we have in Suffolk County, one of their recommendations, they strongly urge us to replace at least portions of our lawns with native plantings for the reasons that Stefan and Gail explained earlier, because they're much more absorbent of what they keep the soil absorbent, and they do a much better job than pure turf lawns. Now, no one's going to give up all of their turf. I'm not sure that's what we're asking for. What we're asking for, I think, is that we consider educating people about the fact that they don't need to be dumping all the fertilizers, that they don't need to be using so many gallons of water per year on their lawns, because all of this is contributing to runoff that's ending up in our groundwater, in the bays. I live on just off Old House Landing. Every time we have a heavy rain, water comes running down these what were once dry riverbeds. Essentially, these roads, all the roads that lead down to our waterways are dry riverbeds. And as soon as it starts raining, they become active rivers. And the water just comes rushing down. Periodically, we have to bring in someone, the town sends someone in to re-sand the area that's been washed away, because all the stuff that comes running down goes running right into the harbor. I have some neighbors who recently sold their house, and the people who moved in have just torn out some native plantings, eastern red cedars, and they've planted barberry, they've planted invasive Asian grasses, when they could have been planting native grasses that would have been helping to absorb some of this stuff that we've been talking about. So our ask, I think, what we're requesting is for you to think about how we can encourage more people in our community to recognize that there are alternatives to turf lawns. Yeah. And that we think that would be a really good educational opportunity to see such a planting on Bluff Road.
Jim just came with
I know, he's the real expert.
It's trying to get anybody that comes to us, right? to agree to put a buffer in. We've gotten the village to move the buffers out tremendously. Last couple of feet. Jimmy's always made some interesting points that when you take the irrigation, you're moving into a whole new tropic zone. Plant on the lawn here probably thinks it was in the middle of the Amazon. It's an issue we're aware of. And it's an issue we've also been working on whatever we could to have people use native plants. Also to only put temporary irrigation in certain areas. And to pay attention to the nitrogen doesn't get into the water unless it runs into the water. So I mean, we agree completely with you people, but we're all working on it.
Okay, well, again, we appreciate
Yeah, that's.
If I may add something, we just.
Come up to the,
Yes, please, microphone.
Okay.
give us your name.
Yes, I'm Stefan Van Dam, and I've lived out here for 33 years, and we live on 3 Mile Harbor, and I swim in there every day. So I'm very concerned of what I'm swimming in. We have various neighbors that goes down the hill to our property, and rainwaters routinely wash fertilizers and pesticides down our road. I just found out that a neighbor of ours who's a landscaper has some autoimmune condition. Nobody knows what it is. He's been dealing with those pesticides for, I guess, 30 years, 35 years. He can't feel his hands and his feet. Yeah, I mean, it's so we need to ask ourselves. I think that we are all, as you said, Bill, we're all in agreement. I think the educational component of what of our ask is to make the public at large aware of the connection. I think that they're all well-meaning and I'd like to do the right thing. They're just not informed. They don't know how the whole system works together. We actually just put in a pollinator garden earlier this year, and the beauty of it alone merits that is what should be the preferred way we treat our landscapes. I mean, the colors are unbelievable. We don't need to water it. It's just a rethinking, and we feel that with the reputation and the history that the trustees bring to the equation, that if we could do a media campaign to explain to folks what the relationships are and what we can do right now, right here in our yards, I think we'll go a long way to help bring about real change and action. And I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you.
I think your main point at the end there was a pollinator garden in front of the trustee office, which I think is a pretty good idea. It's got good exposure. It would complement what you're doing at town hall. But I'd like to hear a little bit more about what that means. I mean, who's doing it, who's paying for it, that kind of thing.
Well, I think what we're trying to advocate and promote is that everybody needs to take this on. All the agencies of this government out here, all the individual property owners. We've been approaching schools. We are starting to approach houses of worship. That everybody
Excuse me,
that
one
has...
second. Can you just adjust your microphone, please?
Oh.
The podium mic.
Okay.
Aim it down. There you go. Perfect.
Okay, so we are not going around to say, okay, we're a bunch of gardeners, we're going to come and we have endless amounts of funds, we're going to come and make gardens for everybody. That's not what we're doing. We presented the garden here at Town Hall because we had somebody also who was interested in funding part of it, and it helped to encourage us to go forward with it. But it's a big project, and we're going to be very busy with that project. But what we feel is critical, we're in a crisis, and if we can't figure out new ways to get through and reach everyone, about the link between native plantings and our waterways, between the pollinator native plants and our species collapse and our aquatic life collapse, we are, we're in a sorry place. And so the idea for that space, we love to identify places like the lawn in front of your offices as places that would be perfect because they become educational places. It could be an incredible, you have a lot of traffic on Bluff Road during the summertime. And that could be a really great, I don't know how the water system works there in terms of what your watershed is and that, you're up on a bluff. But certainly it would be a tremendous demonstration and model garden there. And the idea is to encourage partnerships with other organizations. There are some in Amagansett that we have found out they're going to be doing a pollinator garden just up the road from you, I think. And we've been promoting a pollinator pathway, which means linking all these disconnected, ruined, or disturbed landscapes to create a pathway, because some of the pollinating insects only go about 400 yards in their cycle, certain pollinators. So this is what we're trying to promote. And we're happy to come to the table and think through who might be willing to work on this with you for that site. But you also have a lot of connections and networks, here in this community.
This beginning of your talk, but you had sent over literature beforehand, and I'm pretty aware of, I think, what you're trying to do. But when it comes to like the environment, species diversity, and things like that, one of the biggest challenges is habitat. Okay, I'm troubled when somebody talks about things like I'm going organic or pollinator gardens or things like that, because what you kind of really have to look at is sort of a broader stroke. What truly are the most threatened, I want to say, plant communities that are out there, and probably one of the most threatened, honestly, oddly enough, it flies in the face of your pollinator garden, is grasslands.
Grasslands.
Okay, the East End was traditionally, in fact, all of Montauk was traditionally managed grassland. Okay, it was managed for the purpose of the Native Americans, used it for the purpose of hunting, they used it for the rearing of some of their crops and things like that. When the white man came here, they grazed cattle, sheep, and horses on the land, but it was managed pretty effectively by burning the areas off in that. Well, what's happened in the last few hundred years? Well, what's happened really in the last 50 to 75 years is development. We basically parceled up all of these little bits into little manageable pieces, and the grasslands have virtually disappeared. And our own government helps in that parceling out. Okay, Bill mentioned we ask for vegetative buffers along waterways and things like that. Our town asks for vegetative buffers. What do they always insist on? They insist on woody vegetation, which further sort of compresses or reduces the grasslands. I think there's tremendous opportunities here for your cause, maybe a little bit of fine tuning, because along with grasslands, it's not all grass. In fact, grasslands sometimes might only be 20% grass. There might be a whole bunch of other stuff that inhabits that whole space. Among them are some early spring flowering plants, mid-season flowering plants, later season flowering plants. When we do plans and layouts, a lot of times I'm targeting specific species that I'm trying to provide habitat for. If you're trying to get monarch butterflies like you've got on cover here, it's the wrong plant. It would be Asclepias, anything in the milkweed family that plant would love. But I'm going to be honest. The trustee office, I'm going to say, would probably be one of the worst areas to do a pollinator garden. And for one small reason, we use that property a couple times a year for events. Okay, so there isn't a tremendous amount of space there now, but you got to look at properties where there is no utility, let's say for the grass spaces, beyond looking at. I'm going to be honest, this campus of Town Hall would be an ideal site to not do a little pollinator garden, but to basically transform the Town Hall campus into something that brings back what would be sort of, in this case, it was old farm field, a secessional field with all of the grasses, the forbs, flowers, and stuff that would go along with that. The town, which likes to promote a greener living, okay, you could do that. There would be some mowed trails and stuff through that. But rather than having this, I'm going to say, a hodgepodge of non-native vegetation, which is what Town Hall presently is, it could be something really sweet looking, where this time of the year you'd have those warm season grasses coming up. You'd have the true native plants. Just because they're native to the United States does not necessarily mean they belong here. Do something that's
Very
truly authentic in terms of things, and something that would measure out in kind of a larger scale and might inspire some other people to do something along the same lines.
Well, it's a great idea, and we are fully for that. We originally presented our idea to do 2 or 3 sections of the campus here in native plantings and pollinating plantings, and we presented that to the Energy and Sustainability Committee. And right after that, Kim Shaw of the Natural Resources Department announced they were going to do a native planting at the entrance near of Highway 27, and they have begun. We then continued on to say we'd like to do this pollinator meadow here. It will be very grass heavy, because we are trying to promote the concept of a pollinator pathway. And together with another small garden that exists just outside, I think, of Peter's window, that was done by the East Hampton Garden Club, this would create 3 sites here for pollinators to continue. And so it's a wonderful idea. And we're in what you missed earlier, as I mentioned, that we're in the licensing stage and technical stage with the town of getting this particular section and garden underway. And have a wonderful designer, Abby Lawless from Farm Design, who is doing it. And it's, so.
But I mean, I guess I have to speak to the garden is designed to do exactly what you just said. Is to have a mix and structure, the seasonal mix, to have grasses, because we got a huge deer herd out there. So we're cognizant of all these concerns, and we're not religious that it all has to be native. I think it needs to be a good mix that inspires folks to say, hey, my yard could look more interesting rather than just being turf lawn.
What's the annual maintenance cost here to manage the lawns and things like that? But one of your biggest challenges when you're trying to establish any kind of garden on some of these disturbed sites is simply plugging native plants in among them. Puts the things basically in a jungle that they're not going to be able to survive very well in. You almost have to start from square one. We do a lot of projects in my own business like this, and unfortunately, we have to use some chemicals to basically, in the words of William Westmoreland, sometimes you have to burn the village to save the village.
But West didn't say that.
He did so.
No, it was one of his.
Anyway,
Close enough.
what if you can, but you know what, if you can do that, we've done some, in fact, we finished a project last fall that was about 7 acres of area that was, fortunately for me, was so totally overrun with non-native and invasive vegetation that the agencies didn't blink when we said what we need to do here is this. So we spent literally a year creating a waste. Okay, but once everything was gone, it was planted, and like right now, it's all full of marsh milkweed, butterfly weed, the iris is just finished blooming, and it should be sustainable, but it's hard to get, it's really difficult. What happens most of the time, the failures in the preparation on these gardens, because the process of not controlling your weed problems, you can never get it back. It's such a labor intensive. There aren't enough man hours to go out and pull all of those weeds. On a campus like as big as this, that could be done via seeding the right times of the year. Get the grasslands established first, and then either seed in or plug in the forbs into there so that you're doing things in sort of a logical progression. And
may I make a suggestion? Can we email you our plant list and the plan, and then you could, we'd love you to be of counsel and advise us. We already shop at your. Not one plant has died that we bought at your place, and you should. I'll send you some pictures too. Fabulous. So.
But what's nice is the turn of the century, the Brooklyn Tory Society did a tremendous amount of field work in the whole East End and even on the North Fork. So for Montauk, this Taylor's paper that he did in 1926, where he literally cataloged every species that was out there. And it came at such a perfect time because it literally came a year or two before Carl Fisher bought the peninsula. So there was a baseline for everything that was there before, development started. So there's plenty of information out there as far as what authentically belongs where, based on soils, based on location.
No, I think that the information is there, but we want people act on the information. And I think for that, we are requesting that we educate the public in a way that's engaging and makes them do things rather than, the web is filled with stuff, books, Talamy, Reiner. It's just, there's a whole library. Yes.
He's a tremendous writer and speaker.
And with you included, there is all this expertise out there, but we need to get local folks involved and say, my lawn needs to change. And I don't want any runoff. And the way I'm going to do that is by having native plants so that we have a wonderful graphic. I'll be happy to share it with you too, that shows that natives have root systems that go down 15 feet. And lawn is 1 to 2 inches. So it's not absorptive at all. The chemicals that we're putting on that. So in a way, it is a way of changing of also what beauty is. And that the lawn is not the solution, or it's only part of the solution. And so that's why we felt that with the imprimatur and you endorsement, we could put together a campaign that communicates that effectively and make folks understand of what's at stake. And that we need to act now, and I think would be a wonderful effort to reconfirm the town's climate emergency resolution, that we're acting now before it's too late, so there's something left for our kids. And the wonderful thing about native species is not only do they look great, not only do they retain toxic liquids, but they feed the local insects we need to have a functioning food chain. They can do fine without us, but we can't survive without those insects in place. And, you know, in a way, it all comes together on this. And we appreciate the opportunity to have this start off this conversation with you. We hope that we can have give you regular updates once our garden is going into production. And we'd love you to be a consultant if you could. And
Sorry, Ms. Lincoln, I had to move the feed on.
I have a question for you. All the things that you are doing, I thoroughly support. And I try to implement those things myself in our own property. Have you had any public forums where you can invite the public to, you know, the more information you get out into the public and people start hearing about your group and they know about you, the buzzword, and then you're holding a seminar and you're holding an evening, you know, hour at the library to hear about this and have questions and answers to people. Well, my lawn looks terrible and I don't know what to do. And you get known. You have to.
yes, so the plan is that as soon as the licensing process with the town about the pollinator garden out here is completed, that we'll have signage, we'll have a whole educational program that we want to develop, and to have events for folks to show up and to learn and to participate.
I know it's expensive, but mailings, and I don't know who created this. It's like a long card, but it's both in Spanish and in English, and it talks about fertilizer and not using it anymore and all. It's got pictures on it, and it's something that you could use as a bookmark, you know, and have it, but it's informational, and I took some for myself to hand out, but I find that mailings are also very helpful. Although it's expensive, but
I think all media, you know, inserts into the local paper, social media. You know, I think that we're trying to build community, and it's actually heartening that we can do stuff locally. You know, we feel we can't stop the war in Ukraine. These are all things beyond our control, but we can make a difference right here. And we have been heartened. The folks we've met locally and their enthusiasm. We've had the support of students writing dozens and dozens of letters that they want to be part of their own future. And, you know, all right, I'm sorry.
I'm also thinking of the Georgia Pond Association, the Friends of Georgia,
Yes.
Sarah Davison,
Yes.
Aquaponic Protection Committee.
Yes, we're
Reaching out to all those groups and becoming part of their schedule so that you can see the show. Also LTV, our wonderful LTV, that has, you know, programs you could have a program on, and they would run it repeatedly and people could call in. But just getting out there and getting your name heard. When you speak of bioswales, there's also, of course, Havens Beach. They created a bioswale. I don't know the condition of it at this juncture, but also the little pond in East Hampton that come in off Woods Lane.
Right.
There's that beautiful bioswale there. And you mentioned the one on Methodist Lane, which is absolutely beautiful. I remember when it was being installed and it was very scraggly. So all these are wonderful things. The fertilizer is a big issue that people who live near the water, they don't put too much together. No, when it runs off into the water.
Fertilizer in itself is not the problem. The only way you can luxury feed a plant is if you mitigate that over fertilization in the water. You're diluting the fertilizer. That's one of the biggest issues. We keep harping on nitrogen. Nitrogen is essential for plant growth. The only thing that's allowing us to over fertilize is basically the mismanagement of water. Because if you couldn't add water, as soon as you put too much fertilizer on the water or anything, you kill it.
Right.
Okay, so
you know, I don't know. I'm sure you know this statistic. 8.5 billion gallons of water are used daily in the United States to water lawns.
I don't do gallons. Do it this way. The Northeast gets an average of 42 inches of rain a year. Okay, the average irrigation system on a lawn is set up to apply approximately 1 inch of water a week. Now, a lot of them apply way more than that, but one that's set up properly puts down about 1 inch of water a week. Okay, the irrigation systems run roughly 28 weeks out of the year. So if you add 42 and 28, you got 70, right? Now you got to look at a rainfall map and find where, not in the continental US, where in the world gets 70 inches of rain?
In the Amazon.
Cambodia. Okay, we treat our properties like they're rice paddies. Now, over the years, over the last 75 years, what's happened is all of your lawn grasses have basically been bred to require irrigation because you know what? They had to come up with plants that would survive in the conditions we provided. So sometimes when you go to these old properties where there's no irrigation, these older estates and that don't have irrigation, Maidstone Golf Course, before they put irrigation in, the roughs at Montauk Downs, you see what sort of the natural grasslands would look like. And lawns are not the enemy. Nitrogen in itself is not the enemy. The biggest issue is we overuse the most precious resource we have, which is water. And if we could manage that, we could ignore most of these other things because organics, inorganics, it would be moved at that point.
Interesting idea.
Yeah.
You're the government.
We have no enforcement powers at all.
Actually, this is another, Gail is gonna, would you like to speak to that?
No,
I'd like to say something.
Okay.
Yeah. First of all, appreciate your time. I'm very grateful for the fact that you put up these signs. I'm sorry. I'm very grateful for the fact that there are signs all over town pointing out turtle crossings. Sign underneath it says Trustees. So thank you for that. I would wish, however, that we could have something similar, pointing out that some of the problems that Jim just pointed to, the excess runoff, that existing lawns, as they are right now, not some imaginary future, are a problem because of all of the runoff. They're also a problem that you might not be concerned with, or, well, no, I don't mean to put it that way. It's not your purview, but they're a problem for us because of what they do to provide. You mentioned Doug Talami, who writes tremendously about how lawns deprive insects of habitat.
But he started out with trees.
Well, he starts out.
He's now working his way closer.
Well, a second. We're not going to do it.
But you know, if you take these old grasslands, these vestiges of what were maritime prairie years ago, there's all kinds of flowers and stuff in there. There's asters, there's little ladies' tresses, orchids, and things like that. A lot of times on properties where they're not scrubed, it's just a mowing management plan that takes a few years to get going, and you'll start to see some of the things come back that belong there. You know, sometimes it's not that complicated.
I let my lawn go into natural success about 10 years ago. You'll be amazed at what's come back. So I understand that. I would like to simply suggest that there's much more that we could do, all of us, to encourage a better understanding of what we're doing with our lawn culture right now. And we think there's a place for the trustees to be helping with that, just as you're helping with the turtle crossing issue. Signage is beautiful. I see it everywhere. And it makes people think. That's all we're asking for. Thank you for your time.
yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
I'll let you go.
Stay in touch. Thank you.
Yes.
This is a lovely presentation on the computer.
I'm sorry that if we saw it.
We couldn't connect to the.
Good to see you. Yeah.
Send it to us.
And would you like to see it? Actually, send me your information. I'll be glad.
Yeah,
Great. Yeah, no,
we would appreciate it if you sent that to
Yeah.
us.
You will all get it.
Thanks again so much.
Good to see you both.
Yes. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Stefan, this is, I think.
All right, we'll move on to business. We have 2022 Safe Harbor Water Quality Initiative.
Yeah, Susan and I met with Marianne.
Marianne Eddy
Marianne Eddy.
from Sag Harbor.
We supported Sag Harbor a few years ago. We started off supporting by giving them $5,000 a year. The last year, we reduced it to $2,500. And really, they came back to us for basically the same level of support that we gave last year. They're working with Chris Goldberg, the same as we are, the same as friend George are. There is a significant overlap in some of their, in what they're doing adjacent our waterways. I think it's a goodwill gesture, and I think the data that's being collected there at some point in some time we may find valuable. So that said, I'd like to make a motion that we continue to support them for dollars.
And I will second that.
Okay, anybody have any questions or comments on it? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Okay, good one.
I wonder if I could just, at this point, just a couple of things came up yesterday or Friday, actually.
That has to do with,
Regarding East Hampton water quality,
Okay.
Dr. Goldberg's work. They'll be doing the catamaran, the high cat cruise in 3 Mile Harbor soon. They've asked for some possible places they can set up their operation center to guide the boat up and down the harbor. They'll also be doing most of head of the harbor as well, so it's a little more confined, so they'll need to
Scan Road.
looking probably the end of Breeze Hill Road. They can go down the channel. They're looking also, I'm not clear because I didn't get a chance to talk to Andrew directly about it. A few emails back and forth, and I'm a little confused about exactly where they want to go. But they seem to want to go into all the canals and offshoots of the lower part of the harbor. And I think they're looking for a place to set up.
Like Hampton Waters area and that.
Yeah, they're looking on, the west side of the channel. There's some private docks there that I think would give them access up and down the channel and then into the town dock area as well, without having to move their control and operation on land.
Could they set up by the old Dumpswell site now? That's on the east side.
Marina Lane?
Yeah.
I don't think you can get into Marina Lane that easily. I mean, they really can't walk too far with their equipment. One of the suggested places, they suggested some places was the point of land beyond Gardner's Marina there. I don't think you can drive into that.
That's tough to get in there. It'd be easier to get into Narrow Lane.
Or the end of Wilbur.
Yeah, the Breeze Hill. Breeze Hill Road.
That beach
Drive on the
down
beach and then down to the point.
The
It does
beach
give you a clear shot down all the way to Tanbar Creek.
That beach is easy to get on to also.
Yeah, it's hard.
No,
They're focusing now on the head of the harbor. So anyway,
are they gonna go up by, would they be able to use the preserve there? By Tanbar?
I suggested that, but I think they thought I was talking about a different road end.
That could be a wide opening to the whole upper part of it.
Right.
But that's not that developed, that's more natural.
They can get down there on the dirt road. So I'll be.
What if they use the pump out boat and they could move?
Possible. They set up for, probably a couple of hours. Sure they retire. I'm not
They
sure.
want to set up on
Certain
land.
days of the week in Green Mountain, you would be able to.
I'll suggest that.
I mean, if you coordinate that with Savannah,
Silk Heights Preserve.
That's what we're talking about.
Oh, is that?
Then off.
Off the Silk Heights Road.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. I don't know.
That was Nancy. We can hear you, Nancy.
So let's finish up on all this. Now, if there's anyone on the line.
Well, I did suggest that as a spot. I don't think.
When are they going to start this, John?
I don't know. I think that wasn't part of the email exchange.
Oh, okay.
I tried to get in touch with him, but I didn't get a response as to when Andrew would be available.
Will you let us know?
Have they looked into working maybe for Briggs's place?
That was one of their suggested spots too. So we'll have to agree on, they'll have to tell me where they want to go, and if they need permission, I guess we'll have to get it for it. Also, I guess Paddle Diva is now in the Vandermeer Marina. That's a possibility too. And they worked last year they worked in Shagwell Marina where Paddle Diva was set up. So,
Yeah, someplace down there.
And then I also got in touch with, and part of our 2022 plan is a sediment analysis in Acrobatic Harbor. There'll be 20 sediment grabs taken and analyzed for a variety of parameters. One of the areas that we thought might be useful to focus on was compatible sediment grabs with the work that Cornell and Molly Graffam from Cornell Cooperative Extension is doing in the northern end of the Acrobatic Harbor with their monitoring for submarine groundwater discharge. So they've got 5 stations up there.
We're all set. I really want to see this program give us an opportunity to dredge the rest of the channel up to the.
That's another priority area, would be some sediment grabs between the inlet and the launching ramp.
See what's there, so see what we can do with it.
And I also thought that some investigation around Narrow Lake Preserve and possibly the Kaplan Preserve on the western marsh would be appropriate if some of the marsh restoration work were to want to utilize
that's close to where they want to do it, right?
Sediment for some filling.
I would be nice to know what's there, how compatible that would be to filling in those rills and stuff, or the walls.
So I thought I would take a stab at suggesting 20 spots and then distribute it to the committee that, discussed this with Gobler originally. And we can, agree on what 20 spots we would like to see.
He said they weren't going to do that until later on in the season, so we've got.
Yeah, they won't do that till after Labor Day.
And that's included in the current contract?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, John.
Thanks. Matt, do we have anyone on the line?
You have 0 calls on the line. Thank you.
Well, those other people disappear. All right, thank you. Old business, you have the aquaponics barber mosquito larvae count.
That would be John?
Oh, right. Well, I think I talked about the full moon count that we did, 14th, I believe it was. And we weren't going to do another count until this full moon, which is this coming week. But I did get a communication from Tom Iwaneco from Vector Control that they were seeing some significant breeding activity further up the island around the time of the new moon. So Edwina Wangal wasn't available to do any sampling, so I was able to do some reduced sampling in sort of in the middle of the marsh in some hotspot areas, and found again small early stage larvae, and then communicated that to Vector Control, and they were, as a result of that sampling, they did do some aerial spraying of the hot spots along the western end of the marsh, along the western side of the marsh that week.
I saw that was pending. What part of the marsh did you do with polycom?
I started at Wayne's house, which is more or less where Hog Creek Road meets Springs Fireplace Road. And I did the first hotspot area to the south of her house, and then the first and second hotspot area to the north of her house. And I found something interesting, actually, Allison, if you could put those IVA pictures up. There seems to be a die-off of marsh elder along.
You saw that a couple of years ago, we talked about that.
Always?
No, you were.
I think they may have come back, but, because I don't remember seeing it recently. But it was it's pretty noticeable. These are the hot spots that were found on the full moon, and basically those are the same hot spots that were treated full moon cycle 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and also last week in the full moon cycle. Next one. So that's a close-up of dying idle plant, and looks like
What is causing that? Because that was by Adina's house last year and the year before, and we couldn't figure out what was killing it.
I wondered, I mean, look at go to the next slide. That's just one shot. I mean, every area I did looked like that.
Now, is it dead?
Well,
No,
I don't know if it's dead.
No, but what happens, like, up marsh, I've back or some two plants that will grow for years. The main plant that you're looking at will crap out, but they'll sucker up from the ground. You know, the root system is still alive and viable. So that's not uncommon. The picture earlier than that almost looked like either insect or fungal damage that occurred, like when the leaves were in they hadn't unfolded yet, and sometimes you get something in there that'll stripe, things like that. Then when the leaf opens up, you see all of the damage. But I don't know.
I sent these pictures to Edwina and Tom, and Edwina, well, actually Tom was going to speak to Nicole Mayer from Nature Conservancy to see if they've been looking at this and determining what. I thought it might be, elevated tides. That might be
Yeah,
But that was the whole walkway up from
Yeah.
Edwina's house
but
last
you know,
year.
I just one
The
of those
entire
plants
thing
that
looked like that.
tolerates like salt
I
water.
know, to a point.
Yeah, but like when you look at the plants in the order that in frequency from the shoreline, it will really go Iva and then Baccharis. Okay, so Iva typically is very tolerant. Immerse for periods of time. So, I mean, during a moon tide, that typically Iva's underwater for periods, and it seems to handle it.
But is
just
it normal
fine.
for the next picture to look like that? Because
No,
that's
I
how
don't
it
think
looked like.
that's normal in any way,
That was
but
last year,
you could very
Edwina's
well be
looked like
looking at
this.
some
Well, it
cyclical.
wasn't just, this is north of Edwina's, this picture, but it was also like this south of Edwina's.
Right,
I-
but when we would walk out, that's how we both said, what's going on here? That whole walkway down to the harbor looked like that.
Well, this week we'll be doing the whole edge of the marsh on the west side, so we'll see what it looks like, from bottom to top.
But you're saying it comes back, Jim?
When you see like Iva and Baccharis, they're very resilient plants. I mean, it's very common for them to be ripped out, dislodged, and be part of the rack along the shoreline. They'll root back and they'll take back off. They're not a very long-lived or very durable plant. It's not like you're looking at the mighty oak or anything that's growing there. They're short-lived to begin with, but that definitely looks like there's some thing that's. It's not like individual plants that are sort of reaching their end of their
This is,
life expectancy.
I expect this is very widespread.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, we'll see what it looks like this week.
Stop sharing it? Shall I stop sharing it?
Yeah.
Okay. Kayak rack storage permit check.
Well, I guess I'll start and then go around the table. I went a couple of weeks ago to Louse Point, and then I returned a week later. I took pictures and I sent them out to John and David, and I think Francis, I'm not sure. I think you were on that too. There were two there that had no stickers whatsoever, no permits. And I put warnings tags on them. There was another kayak that had a warning from June 6th. So I wrote on it overdue, and then I sent pictures to everybody so that you could see. The yellow and the red kayak at Louse Point, they're the same brand, so I assume they're next to each other. I'm assuming that they belong to a couple or, of the same people, if you will. So there were three there. I went back last weekend, it was the same. And then yesterday I went to Settlers Landing. Everybody has a sticker there. And I was happy to say I put my new kayak there myself with my permit. There was one kayak, rather, I should say. If my memory serves me, I sent it to you. It was a blue one. I also went to Miles Hill and checked that out, and I think I sent some pictures there. So it seems as though we need to have, another time to consolidate and decide what we're going to do going forward. And John, you sent us the email that perhaps at the beginning of the month we should assess again to see what's still there. But certainly it seems that we do have a few rogue kayaks there. In different places, and people need to either come and get their permits or we need to do something.
Well, there were only two at the Gerard Drive that unpermitted. I think we need to, all right, this is more or less the middle of July. So I think if we look at them again around the 1st of August, we need to do it in a dense period of time. We can't do it over a 2-week period like this one was. Because if we're going to ask if we do find these same kayaks there and the warning stickers are still there and there's no permits on them, we'll have to ask Marine Patrol to impound those kayaks. So I think that August 1st check will be important to do that in a condensed period so that they can,
Agreed.
and then we can sticker any new kayaks we find without permits on them also.
Did you see the kayak at last point? I took a picture of it. It was in fact permitted, but it had no place there because there were unpermitted kayaks. So that person's kayak was on the ground and turned on its side.
So it'll get a spot hopefully August 1st and the patrol takes the other two away. Yeah, I checked Mile Hill last weekend. I didn't see all of them were permitted, so that's awesome. It was all full. So it's not a big problem. It's just a few, but I think August 1st would be good to tell Tim that's the day and we'll have it all set.
The one that last point that's on the ground next to the back, is that on the bay side or inside the harbor?
It's inside the harbor.
There was one on the beach,
Right.
on the bay side.
And it was like that from the beginning.
June.
Yeah, it was like that from the beginning.
It's still there.
Well, I don't know. It's not the last time.
You checked the bay side?
I did. That was fine.
There was no kayak on the beach. They were all
No,
around.
they were all fine. In fact, there were places open. Now, whether or not that meant that somebody was out with their kayak and the water was beautiful day.
I looked at the Fresh Pond also, and there's eight spots there on the rack. And there were only 4 kayaks.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Allison told me.
On Mile Hill, there were 2 kayaks like 50 yards down that were chained to a tree.
Oh,
They're kind of like up in the
okay.
dunes there.
Didn't
So
see
I
that.
don't know if we should. They're not supposed to be doing that. So
Yeah.
Well,
if
I
you
didn't
walk
see them.
farther, south. Yeah.
Actually, we couldn't because the tide had come up when I was there. It was really
So
high.
I could put a warning sticker on those.
Is that down where the catamaran gets put
Yeah.
up on the beach?
Yep,
Yeah.
right near there.
Well, I don't know. Well, that's not an area we've established racks. So I don't know. I mean, there is not necessarily a prohibition on storing or leaving a boat on the beach.
Yeah, as long as you're not destroying vegetation.
Well, the catamaran is up on the vegetation.
Well,
And it's
there's a-
grown a lot this year. Did you notice how far out the growth is? It's really covering the beach now. It's come right out.
I would say that we should keep an eye on that area.
Yeah,
If it becomes an area that a lot of kayaks start to pull up and they start to pull up in the reeds and the grass, it might be another spot that we establish some racks and then put some, controls in place. But
Right, yeah, we'll keep an eye.
Because we don't want to have a lot of people tying the kayak up to a tree.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point of the permits?
Exactly.
there's no more room at Mile Hill where our racks are for additional racks. So, yeah, if there becomes more demand and the vegetation is suffering as a result of it, we could put more racks down the beach, but we can't put them where they are now.
Right.
Okay. So that's it for kayaks.
And I just had one more thing. Well, this is the end of old business. If I could just, again, this came up today, actually. Got an email from Cornell Cooperative Extension about the summer survey fisheries study. The boat, actually, Allison, can you put that notice up? And just scroll down to the map.
And this will go up on our website tomorrow as well.
Right, they put out a notice for the summer trawl survey taking place between July 14th and 20th. This is the area that they'll be surveying. The green boxed area is their experimental or impact area, and the red is the control area or the reference area. And within each of those areas, they randomly choose 20 boxes in which to do a trawl. A trawl takes place for 20 minutes at 3 knots, which represents about a 1 kilometer distance. So 20 trawls in the green area, 20 trawls in the red area. So fishermen, the notice is basically to alert fishermen and the public that these trawl surveys will be taking place. And fishermen it's gear in the area are encouraged to contact Cornell Cooperative Extension, Alex Mercado, who's going to be the scientist who's on the boat, and give him their location of their gear so that area can be avoided. When they do the tow, they will be cruising along the route of the tow without towing a net, looking for any evidence of fixed gear, gill nets or pots that might be along the tow line before they actually drop the net and do that tow. So the boat is a fishing vessel Bulldog out of Shinnecock. That boat can be contacted by anyone concerned on VHF channel 13 or 16 during the survey to get any updates or speak to the captain or scientists on board with any information they may have or concerns they may have as the survey is taking place. So this information will be on our website, and that's it.
It's a great looking Bulldog boat. I love it.
Scroll down to the picture of the boat. That's what it looks like. So that'll be the survey vessel.
If they notified the fishing fleet at all?
I believe they're in touch with Bonnie.
I have just one thing, sort of light note. SOFO Museum, South Fork Museum, had a tournament. This was their second one. It's called the Shark Team. And people from all over could enter the tournament and report their balloons that they found in the water. So I did personally enter to help the effort. But I just wanted to point out that this year's tournament removed 2,871 balloons from the environment, over 1,000 from last year. I find that astounding.
These are on the water?
Yeah, people finding them, and then you take a picture and you send it through the little thing that, scanner? I don't know how to use it.
QR code.
QR code, thank you. And you send it in, and it was so complicated for me, I couldn't figure it out. So I just entered, but I thought that was amazing, and I just wanted to say 2,871 balloons, 1,000 over last year. So, yeah, really. And I think I already mentioned this with Sag Harbor. I did go to Sag Harbor, and they did a presentation at a village board meeting, and they banned the sale and distribution of balloons in the village of Sag Harbor. And the store that sold them gave them up before they even passed the bill. So I think that was really good. And Stop and Shop and the 2 CVSs no longer sell balloons.
Where are they still sold?
There is a store in Southampton, and she actually came to the Southampton public meeting to advocate for the sale of balloons. And I was notified by a resident of Sag Harbor that the store was selling balloons. And I said, well, that can't be because Southampton banned the sale and distribution as of June 1st of this year. And sure enough, the woman is still selling balloons from her store in Southampton, Hampton Balloon, is it Balloons of Hamptons or something? And she was, the person asked, how can you still be selling them? I just want to make sure that it's okay to do. And she said, oh, we blow them up and send them our riches. So, and then we send them, but we're still here. So that's a
loophole.
How many are there stored in these Hamptons still selling?
The village, well, I will be meeting with Mayor Larson and the trustees on July 29th. It's a Friday, so if anyone would like to come along and support this effort, we will be balloon free if we get the village. You know, they've had a lot of time to know that this is coming, and there are definitely alternatives to decorations, and I'm hopeful that we will have some success there.
Cool, thanks. Okay, hey, Matt, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm seeing a couple of names on the screen. Is anyone there to speak to us?
Well, that I don't know. The newest one was Biddle, and I don't know if that person is here to speak or just listen.
Okay. All right. Committee reports, education, internet traffic report on Google Business and trustee website.
Do you want to speak to that, David?
Yeah, I forget the numbers. I think it was 728 clicks.
I have it right here.
Yeah. So it's gone up. So it was a really good amount of traffic on our website this last few months.
Yeah, Michael, our website designer, provided us with the Google information that he does periodically for us so that we know. And I'm going to say profile views, we had 1,038 profile views, 245 searches, that's up 172%. 1,038 profile views is up 34%. And let's see. Sorry?
What's a profile view?
When people find, they go to see what your profile is, to see who you are, what you stand for, what you're doing, so that people.
Us, not individuals. It's
The actual website information itself. So if they would go to, for instance, the internet and look us up, they would see what it was about. And we printed out everything. He also supplied us with the Google review. When you go on the internet to look up ehtrustees.com, and all businesses and organizations have this on the side, it will tell you who we are, where we're located, what time we open and close, our telephone number, questions and answers. You can ask a question if you wanted to, and then it tells us, it describes who we are, and that comes directly from our website. So it's a good tool to have, to know how you're doing with your website. And we have increased viewership and interest from the public. So the more we talk about ehtrustees.com, the better. And we are keeping it up to date as fast as my fingers can type. And David, and I think we're due for another class.
Yeah, we are.
And Michael has asked us what we would like to do next. What do we find important? But there are many different components to this website, and it's a lot to learn. But we're managing
More traffic, so it's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So anything you want to add to that? Do you have anything in mind that you think we should be adding? So I added activities. I thought activities was a good thing. That things that are occurring in our community that relate to, outside water events or something.
Yeah, maybe pump out boats. We'll talk.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to go on to administrative, but is there anything anyone wants to add before we do that? No. All right, we have payment of the bills. The following bills need to be paid. East Hampton Marina, $157.40 for gas, $249.90 for gas, $253.49 for an oil change. We have the East Hampton Star, $149.32 legal ad, and Montauk Marine Basin, $827.05 for gas. So a motion.
I make a motion.
And I'll second it.
Pay the bills.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, and I don't really have anything on the report of the clerk.
These minutes.
Wait a minute, Allison.
Minutes here.
There's minutes, and I'm sending you guys the stuff now or later. The survey.
Oh, I'm sorry, the lesson survey. Yeah. Do that. I don't see minutes.
Minutes.
Okay, on June
I read
27th.
them.
I'm sorry.
I read them and sent them in. Any little tweaks needed or suggestions, and they're wonderful and thorough.
You want to make a motion?
Oh, I'll make a motion to pass the minutes.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Okay, so Allison's going to give us a quick view on how we're going to be doing the job survey.
So what I'm going to show you is the digital platform. Can you all see that?
Yes.
That we will be using. It is a program called Survey 123, which is the same program that John and Susan have used with the mosquito larvae survey. So essentially, you will all be given access. I'll give you the username and password. For obvious reasons, I did not include that. But I just wanted to run this through with you all now, and then if anybody needs any individualized help later, I will show you how to do that. So essentially, when you get to the property, which I'll be assigning all of you, individual properties to go and do the inspection and inventory, you're going to pull this up on your mobile device. And you're going to insert, this is pretty self-explanatory, your first name here. Let's just say, I don't need to run through and actually type them in, but you'll get the picture. Your last name, and then the date. And then this part here is going to be a crucial part. So what Bob Mason in our tech department and I have worked on is creating this portion where it will actually be able to connect to GPS and ultimately the GIS platform that we can then use to collect all of the data. So we'll have an exact location of where you are. You'll also be inputting the address here, and you'll physically type that one in. And then you'll be inputting the tax map number here as well. So this part can be a little bit tricky, but once we get to it, you'll notice that the map is just going to geolocate right to where you are. It's best if we do it in the browser, but I'll go over that individually with you at a later date.
Allison, I have a question about the GPS. When we did the mosquito larvae surveys, we also have GPS. Every time we take a survey, a count, we're on a point. That's a GPS point. If we used our phone GPS, our phones, it was depending on the phone and the coverage, it was often off by, sometimes many meters.
Okay.
We have these 3 GPS units that will connect to the phone and give a better reading. I don't know how that might affect this survey. They're actually on a property that actually gives a GPS reading for 3 properties over.
Right.
Problem. I mean, that may be alleviated by the address. So
correct. Yeah, see, we have two other spaces. So you'll see that we've got the address, which you'll type in, and the Suffolk County tax map number, which is all associated with each of the properties. Anytime that I've tested it, the map has brought me to exactly where I'm at. So I'm fairly confident that through the system it should work, but we've got these two to back it up, and you'll be provided with this information. So this is This is also something that you can zoom in on directly from your phone to find where you are and add the point there as well. And then you'll see down as we move along, you get to choose which harbor you're in. We've added additional ones just for future uses if the trustees needed to use it for any other purpose, but so just ignore the ones where we do not have any docks currently. The same thing for structures. We did add the additional ones, again, only for future use should the board decide at any point in time to use it for any other structures down the road or anything like that. That was just thinking a little bit ahead. So you'd choose dock. When you choose that, you notice that it popped up an additional portion of the survey. Did you all see that? It propagated the additional portion. So then that's where you'll be able to type in, or to choose rather, if it's a fixed dock or a floating dock. Then you're going to continue through. You'll just choose which material it's made from, if there's anything in here that you needed to. If you guys have suggestions for changes, let me know.
Does that allow us to put in, like if it's got wood and metal, will they both come up? Or is it only accept
It
one?
only is accepting one, but if I should do, the composite was sort of the idea of it changing to. If it needs to be combination, other, you get to type it in here. So in that case, I would type in other and then choose the combination and write the combination in.
Okay.
Does that work for you guys?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that can go under the additional information on the dock also, right?
Sorry?
Say there's an additional information space.
Correct. There will be down at the bottom. Then you'll be able to just choose from the condition of the dock on the scale, and then you'll choose how many pilings are used for each of them, and then you'll notice the next section asks for how many freestanding pilings, if the property has any freestanding that aren't connected to the structure. Moving on to, this is the part that I really want everybody to pay attention to. In order for us to be able to collect the data to then analyze it later on, we had to create it this way. So you're going to enter the total feet of the dock. If the dock is, let's say, 60 feet and 8 inches long, you'll put only the feet in this section here. And then you'll put the inches in the following slide. Is that clear for everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the length.
That's the length.
What
And
if there's like an L-shaped dock?
It's
Where you measure the L from.
okay. So that part's at the bottom. And if we need to make these changes, this is why this is great. We can do that. So this is total feet, right? So if it is an L shape, we're still measuring the total feet of it. And you're still measuring the total inches. Then the bottom is the width, total width, and then same thing, feet and then inches. Same thing will happen with if there's a ramp or if there's a catwalk, you'll see the exact same prompts for you.
Wait, I have a question on the width.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the length. So we do a total length, just add the lengths if it's L's or T's.
Mm-hmm.
But on the widths, what if like it's a T dock and the main part is 8 feet wide and then the T is 4 feet wide? How do we?
That's a good point. So really then what would be the most feasible is, are there sections of the dock, section 1, then section 2? Would that work better? You think like if section 1 being say the line of the T and then section 2 would be, does that make sense?
Well, you'd have to, in order to calculate the square footage, you'd have to know what the width was in relation to the length.
Right, so down here, I'm gonna scroll past, ignore all of this. So down here, you're going to create a sketch where you're going to notate the different portions of the structure. So that can help, but I hear what you're saying. And so maybe we'll take it and have a conversation about what would be best up here in order to record those pieces.
Hey, I don't want to be an asshole here, but this is
what is it?
I think I heard that.
Could
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. A lot of typing.
Could we do this
Mm-hmm.
a little differently, where we have paper pages, okay,
Mm-hmm.
that allow you to fill out,
Yes.
the dimensions and a QR code like we have for the horseshoe crabs, with a QR code where we will basically be able to ship the documents to you. So you're going to get all the information that you have right now. You'll write in, rather than with your phone, you'll write in all of the information. You'll write, instead of having to write 68 feet on one line and then 8 inches. That's a dumb thing to have.
Well, the only reason it is like that is so that once we receive the data on the back end of the program, it can be all put together.
Okay.
That's the only reason. It seems juvenile, but that's the only reason it's like that.
But no, we have, the paperwork that we fill out, the horseshoe crab things, allow us to take the pages that we filled out, download them to you.
Okay.
And that way you literally have an electronic and a physical document.
Okay.
As a backup.
Is this the alternative that Jim's looking for?
That, yes. So in your folder, I also created a paper version of the form.
Yeah.
With which you could then upload it. So part of the idea too was that, no offense to anybody, but some of y'all have really awful handwriting. So part of this was to be able to alleviate trying to read. I have awful handwriting too. Trying to read people's handwriting. And that way, if it was all digitally and done in a computer and being sent, there was going to be no question about what it was going to be. Do you know what I mean? So what you're saying is you want to take an image of the QR code, and that QR code sends it to me digitally in the form version, like in the paper, like a scan of the paper version?
Yeah.
Because I'm just looking at this and saying, in the field, to be sitting here, to me, it's tedious.
Okay.
When you're doing, it'd be very easy to produce a sketch, write your measurements down while you're doing it. I think if you're constantly, I'm just not one of those people that are going to stop and play with my cell phone all day.
All right.
You can move and.
So I mean, I'm more than happy. Whatever's going to be the easiest for all of you.
I'll tell you what, in the case of the what do you call it, the horseshoe crab things, it really was painless. You should take a picture of the document, you downloaded it, you submitted it, you have that physical document that you turn in at the end of the season, and everything is backed up.
Yeah, I can ask Bob about how that works.
What I'm concerned with this is you're in the field, you've got light on the screen of your phone that you're trying to manage. You're writing down dimensions.
Right.
And I see a potential for errors. My fingers are kind of big and clunky. I can see errors being made as you're filling out the document that you may not pick up or notice. And now you've submitted it and downloaded it, and somebody is there is no backup document to say, what was the dimension?
Right.
Because
even spotty cell phone coverage,
It's not even, because you're doing this in your phone, but still, it's, yes, when you go to export that, the nice thing with the form, you can do that export in a good size file. Yeah, whatever.
So I mean, if that's what you guys want to do, we can certainly do that, and I'll just talk to Bob and see. I don't know how that works. If you want to show me what you've used, that would be great.
What I'll do is I'll bring in the horseshoe crab thing and how they've set it up there. And it was the first time they told us about doing it. I'm not an electronics guy. I was like, no, this is
right.
But it's painless.
Yeah, bring it in and show me, and then that will add the additional step of data entry from what you guys are doing, which is fine. This particular version here eliminates the data entry portion, which is one of the reasons why it was an idea.
I would also maybe add into this is the ability to export photo. Like when you go to a property, you're taking your measurements, take 2 photos or 4 photos of the dock. They could be.
Yeah, that's exactly what this would do.
Oh, okay.
So part of this survey here would be, you would take the photo of the up to 5. This is as much as it allows, but you would take the photo right in the program, and it attaches it directly to what you've just done. And then this part here would be, you can take your sketch, you can also take a photo of that, and then the note section would be any additional notes that you wanted to put in for that particular structure.
It's really comprehensive. I think it was organized.
Yeah, this is very similar
I
to
understand what you're
mosquito.
saying, yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Larvae, for sure. Mosquito larvae.
Yeah, I think, you know, if we can use this and it's not onerous to us, I think it would save a lot of work on Allison's end, because you know, if she gets these by QR code, she still has to then take all the data off and whereas that's automatic.
Just one step, yes.
So,
Either way.
Whatever you're comfortable with.
yeah.
Do you guys want to use the 2 versions? So if you're comfortable with the paper, then you do it that way, and if not, then you do it.
I think that would be helpful to have the options, because there might even be days when it's, you know, you don't want to use your phone or the light's bad, and maybe.
Well, that's what I'm looking at.
that was
You're out in
part of the
broad
plan, for
daylight.
sure.
So bright.
Trying to look at what you're doing on your phone.
If it's a simple doc, like just one, you know, maybe this would be the solution, but if it's more complicated, if it's a T or an L or whatever, then maybe we just need to sketch it and add our numbers. But I have another question. Are we gonna alert all these dock owners now to be on the lookout for these trustees coming on their property, or does each trustee
that's
need to
my
notify?
Yeah, so they've all been,
I don't know if we're getting to this tonight, but I just.
they've all been notified via the letter that went out with their dock agreement and over the phone when I speak with them. But once I assign the docs to you, I'll also be providing the contact information for either the property owner, or the agent or person they've designated. And then you would reach out to them to schedule it together, or I can help with the scheduling too. But that way they know we're not just going to, willy-nilly show up on their property, because that just wouldn't be courteous of us.
You and I have talked about this, and I have broached it in the past about the use of a drone, because while we have permitted docks, we may have docks that are not permitted, and the drone is a very expeditious way of viewing the harbors. And if we don't have a phone number for somebody who has a dock, then we're not going to be able to even A, know it exists, and B, be able to do this. So I still am in favor of a drone use, because it would be very helpful for us to see the whole harbor wherever we are doing this.
Where I can see the value is, we do this, and if we could get some picture of the docks that are there, whether it's a drone or satellite, whatever it is, then after the fact, we can compare what we've got
Fill in the blanks.
with, a picture of the harbor, and see if there's anything, there that is here that we don't know.
When you say a picture of the harbor, what are you referring to?
Oh, whether it's a drone,
Google Earth.
aerial picture.
Yeah, get them to Earth might be the way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how current is that?
Well, I was just in our office,
Yeah, but
in our town government office.
that was in the winter.
It's in the last one that was done was March,
Yeah.
and before the leaves came out. I was just in code enforcement, and the last one that they have on their program is March. So by March, you're not going to see anybody.
They try and do it for that time because they want to get with no lead.
Right, but what I'm saying is in March, nobody has their dock out.
Maybe what we do is look into what it would cost to get, drones.
Well, I have been saying that for a while. The drone would be a really good basic format for us now to see what's there, because now is when they're out.
We have a drone contact.
Yes, I already reached out to him.
But I think that would be an excellent help for us, and then we have it for.
I do not have prices yet.
An hour, a harbor or something like
We
that.
know what it costs.
But I know approximately, he just needs some more specific information, which I'm going to be providing to him tomorrow in order to get actual costs. But I also wanted to see what the interest was among the board to move forward in that direction if you guys wanted.
I think it would be valuable to do. I think a lot depends on how much it's going to cost.
Right, well, I think we should look into it. I think it would be a nice tool to have, an extra tool. And we might discover that there are additional docks that we were unaware of.
There's probably other reasons it would be nice to have a record of,
Yes.
but, you might want to do it every couple of years.
So I just want to confirm, so you all are okay with using this, it's ready to go, and or using the form that I have provided you, which will be on that right as rain paper, so that there's no worries about it being, messed up with the water. And as long as you all are comfortable with those two formats, I'm going to start assigning you places to go.
Yes.
So you're good
And
on that.
when we use the phone, send this information to you, it is very much, it will go to you immediately, just like our mosquito larvae did. Okay.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah, and I can show you, I'll send you what to download on your phone if you'd like to use the app. I would prefer for you to use your web browser on your devices and or your computers, because it'll just be better, and then go from there.
And we have the measuring equipment in the office?
It's all in the office. Yep. So I'm gonna package it all up together. The one thing is that more than likely, if there are two of you going out on the same day, we might just have to coordinate different times of day, because so far, because of licensing and whatnot, we have only one or two logins. But other than that, it shouldn't be a problem, because I don't foresee it really being an issue at all.
Thank you for working on this. You've done a great job, Allison.
Yeah, you're welcome. We'll be ready to go.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to close? I make a motion to close the meeting.
Immediately, is that what you said? Immediately?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Matt, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Night, Matt.